Rivian just crushed every single record in company history this quarter. That is not an opinion, that is a real number. They delivered more vehicles than ever before in just 3 months. Gross profit numbers came in stronger than any previous quarter Rivian ever had. And then they dropped something nobody saw coming at all. Rivian launched a brand new AI and robotics company called Mind Robotics. Every major automaker now feels pressure to start a robot division. Rivian agreed and jumped in with both feet immediately. The stock market reacted very positively to all this news landing together. Many Rivian investors are sitting in a much better position today, finally. Unless you bought at the IPO price, then you are still underwater. But the overall trend is moving strongly in a very positive direction. Now let me tell you why their next decision shocked almost everyone. When Rivian first unveiled the R2 truck, they announced 3 powertrain options. Those options were a single motor, a dual motor, and a tri-motor. Most people assumed Rivian would launch with the most expensive version first. I personally believed that too, and I will admit I was wrong. I genuinely thought Rivian was going to open with the tri-motor R2. My reasoning made perfect sense based on how Rivian operated before. The tri-motor variant will be extraordinarily powerful and capable as a vehicle. Rivian already charges 6 figures for their current tri-motor R1 vehicles. I thought they would apply the exact same pricing logic to the R2. A launch edition tri-motor R2 priced around $70,000 felt realistic. That would have been a strong early margin play while production ramped slowly. But Rivian surprised everyone by confirming the launch edition will be dual motor. They were also clear this is not some stripped-down bare minimum vehicle. Rivian used words like moderately equipped and adequately featured for the R2. That means real features, real build quality, and a genuinely good driving experience. It sits right in the middle of the powertrain lineup as the confirmed starting point. That also tells us something very important about what is still coming later. Launching with dual motor means a more expensive tri-motor R2 is still coming. Rivian is simply not starting production with the tri-motor right away. This is a brand new drive unit, and they call it Maximus. It is different from the motors in their current generation 2 vehicles. The tri-motor setup with new hardware needs more calibration and validation time. Rivian has been building dual motor systems for several years across multiple platforms. They have enormous real-world data on dual motor performance from the R1T. Starting the R2 from a place of deep familiarity makes complete sense. It is honestly not surprising that dual motor was chosen as the opening configuration. Rivian has never produced a single-motor R1 vehicle for regular consumers yet. The delivery van uses a single motor, but that is a completely different category. The single-motor R2 will almost certainly be the last configuration to arrive. Rivian will wait until all other configurations are fully ramped before introducing it. That entry-level single-motor R2 is expected to reach around $45,000. Rivian has not officially announced pricing for the launch edition R2 publicly yet. Based on everything known, my best estimate puts launch edition around $60,000. That lines up closely with how other companies handle launch edition vehicle pricing. Think about how Tesla priced the launch edition Model Y when it first entered. Rivian will likely attach limited edition colors, special badges, and exclusive interiors. It gives early buyers something unique that later buyers cannot get at all. The only confirmed price Rivian shared for the R2 is that $45,000 figure. But knowing this is a dual motor with a large battery, That number is not day one. Launch editions are designed to capture enthusiastic buyers willing to pay more. That is a completely normal and very logical business strategy to follow. Rivian would be foolish to skip that strategy given their current financial position. The Launch Edition R2 battery will use brand new 4695 cylindrical cells throughout. These cells are currently being imported from South Korea for early production runs. Rivian confirmed that starting in 2027, they will source those cells from the US. That domestic transition will improve their cost structure and simplify manufacturing. These cells are part of a structural battery pack that reduces total part count. In terms of range, the Launch Edition R2 should come in above 300 miles. I do not expect it to push dramatically beyond that into 350 territory. Something around 300 to 320 miles feels most realistic. Rivian is not trying to win a range competition with this vehicle right now. They are focused on building strong profit margins while delivering premium experience. Charging speed is another area where people should keep expectations realistic. The R1 vehicles are not particularly impressive when it comes to charging speed. The 4695 cells are also not expected to dramatically improve the charge curve. Fast charging is simply not where Rivian is placing its primary energy and focus. For typical daily driving and overnight home charging, that trade-off will work. Most buyers will accept that because home charging solves their daily needs. The bigger priority for Rivian is ensuring every R2 sold contributes to gross profit. They have made impressive progress on margins quarter after quarter with the R1. The goal with R2 is to push that momentum further and achieve net profitability. That profitability milestone matters enormously for Rivian's long-term survival. Once they cross that line, the path toward future vehicles like the R3 opens up. Rivian already offers two performance levels on dual-motor R1 configurations. One version is fully unlocked for maximum power, and one is software-limited. It is very likely they will apply that same strategy to the R2 lineup eventually. Once the $60,000 Launch Edition wave slows, a cheaper version appears. That second dual-motor variant might land around $54,000 or $55,000. It would still be all-wheel drive and fully capable, just slightly slower. Many consumers genuinely dislike this approach, and that frustration is understandable. Nobody wants to feel artificially held back on a vehicle they paid good money for. But from a business standpoint, software unlocks represent extremely high-margin revenue. The cost to deliver a software update after development is almost zero. Every dollar earned through a software unlock flows straight to the bottom line. Shareholders love that recurring revenue model, and Rivian understands its power. It creates an uncomfortable triangle between consumers, investors, and Rivian. Consumers want everything included for the lowest possible price with no strings. Investors want recurring high-margin revenue streams that grow predictably over time. Rivian has to satisfy both groups while funding all future product development. It is a difficult balance, but their recent earnings suggest the strategy is working. Rivian announced that early in 2026 they will host a dedicated R2 event. That event will feature a fully updated configurator and complete pricing across trims. This is extremely welcome news for thousands of reservation holders waiting patiently. There are still many open questions needing real answers before people can commit. What exactly does the $45,000 base R2 actually look like? The R1S and R1T have been selling very well despite their $80,000 tags. Rivian has built genuine brand loyalty and a strong, passionate community around them. But the R2 is supposed to bring that same experience to a much wider audience. The compromises involved in hitting that lower price point are what everyone wants to see. Nobody wants to discover that the affordable version feels like a completely different brand. The battery size will almost certainly be smaller on the lower trim R2. A 250 to 270 mile range estimate feels reasonable. The rear-wheel drive single motor will obviously be slower in acceleration. Audio system quality and premium interior materials will see reductions on lower trims. These are expected and reasonable trade-offs for the significant price difference. The more interesting question is what Rivian chooses not to compromise on. Tesla included full autonomous driving hardware across their entire vehicle lineup. That decision was driven by a belief that software revenue from autonomy would be massive. Rivian seems to be moving in a similar direction with their own AI development. Including a full premium camera suite on base models would signal that clearly. Rivian camera placement and software design have received genuine praise from owners. Their infotainment system is clean, intuitive, and improves through over-the-air updates. If they bring that same software quality to the base R2 regardless of price, that is powerful. It would tell the market that Rivian is serious about autonomy as a long-term play. That kind of move builds both strong consumer trust and real investor confidence. The R2 has real potential to transform Rivian from a niche luxury brand. It can become a mainstream automaker if this vehicle succeeds at volume. The R1 proved Rivian could build excellent vehicles and attract loyal premium customers. The R2 must prove they can do that at volume and at a much lower price. That is a significantly harder engineering and business challenge to solve. But the early signals are genuinely very encouraging for Rivian and its investors. There is one area where Rivian still has serious and urgent work ahead. Their service network is a growing complaint across owner communities and forums. People report waiting months for basic repairs, including something as simple as windshields. That is completely unacceptable for a company asking customers to spend $60,000. As R2 production scales, the service infrastructure must scale at the exact same pace. A great vehicle that cannot be serviced quickly creates frustrated owners and bad word of mouth. Rivian has acknowledged this service issue publicly on earnings calls and communications. But acknowledgement alone is not enough at this critical stage of growth. Real investment in mobile service, expanded centers, and faster parts logistics is urgently needed. The R2 launch will bring a massive wave of new customers who never owned a Rivian. Their very first service experience will define how they feel about this brand for years. What Rivian accomplished this quarter is genuinely impressive by any fair measure. Record deliveries, improving gross margins, and a bold move into AI and robotics. The stock is responding well, the community is energized, and the R2 is becoming real. The dual-motor launch decision shows real strategic maturity and deep manufacturing confidence. The planned 2026 configurator event gives reservation holders a concrete date to look forward to. The next 12 months will be defining and pivotal ones for Rivian as a company. Everything they have built toward since the beginning is converging around the R2 launch. The earnings momentum, the battery strategy, the AI positioning, and pricing are all coming together. If Rivian executes well across all these fronts, the growth story could be extraordinary. This is one of the most exciting and important moments in Rivian's short but eventful history.